Although I've learned that I don't mind not traveling. So, so
Can see a lot more customers this way.
yeah, and I get a lot more work done. So, and I can coach softball, and although I've learned that I don't mind not traveling. So,
Can see a lot more customers. Oh, is there a little delay there?
yeah, sorry, I was getting my live stream going.
Okay.
All right, what I'm going to do is kick off at top of the hour. So if everybody can just mute, I wait 3 minutes before we start, just because I don't, it takes that long for people to join. And then I'll turn off cameras of people that aren't going to be on until I need you. So if you don't mind. All right, so we'll kick off in about 15 seconds or so. Hey, Jed, how do you do the haze effect with your camera? Is that special camera?
Yeah, this is the like a digital camera.
Nice, I like it.
Thanks.
You have it going on a little bit, Pete, as well. I mean, you're more in focus. Your background's a little blurred.
Yeah, I just got a basic one that the guys over at your video guys there, they hooked me up. So, all right, we're gonna start. So go on mute. All right, folks, we will get started in about 1 minute. All right, folks, welcome to another edition of XenTegra's Webinar Wednesdays. I'm excited for today because it's been a long time coming, but we're going to be talking about IGEL and disrupting 2021 and why endpoints still matter. All right, and I got a great guest, but before we get started, my name is Pete Downing. I'm your host and the CMTO of XenTegra. Thanks for joining us. those who are coming back week over week, welcome back. And I got a great guest today, and how long I've been asking you to join this, Jed, but I'm excited to have you on. So welcome, Jed. If you want to give yourself a quick introduction and just give a little, tidbit about yourself.
Thank you so much, Pete. I do apologize that it's taken so long for us to make this happen. Obviously honored to be on your show here. I know you have been doing it religiously for the last years, especially with COVID, and certainly just excited to be on with one of our greatest partners and longest standing partners for IGEL. Obviously, you guys have saw the light before a lot of others, so honored to be able to have a conversation with you today.
Yeah, awesome. And I know you're a busy man, and I appreciate you taking time out of your busy days to jump on today. And
never too busy for you, Peter.
I appreciate it. All right, next up, we got another guest, last minute guest, and I pulled them in just because we're going to talk about something really fun and cool later on today. But Young, if you want to give yourself a quick introduction and welcome.
Hi, my name is Young Song. I'm a founder and CEO of N Computing. I'm newbie in the IGEL community, and it's very exciting that we can provide it and cooperate with IGEL and XenTegra for introduced our new RX 420 IGEL, the Pi 4 based workspace hub. So yeah, anything about the hardware and the endpoint that's recently developed together with IGEL, so feel free to reach us, and then I will introduce our team, and we will support your project. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Young, for joining us. And then finally, behind the scenes, we got Megan Hansen, who works on my team. And as I always say, please be nice. And we always vet our attendees and before you give you free lunch. So welcome behind the scenes, Megan, and thanks for all you do. Hey, we encourage question and answer. One of the things I love about the Zoom question and answer dialogue is you can upvote each other. So if you see a question and you want to comment on it or you want to like it, you can. You can also be anonymous if you don't want to have your name associated with the question. Hey, I get it. So please ask questions today. And if you derail the conversation, it's okay. We definitely recommend that and love question and answer. Our agenda is going to be simple today. We're going to be talking about a lot of cool things IGEL's doing, and Jed's going to give us some great insight into 2021 and some of the background and why IGEL's doing what they're doing. I'm excited. I've been a long time IGEL enthusiast, fan, whatever you want to call it, but I've been around IGEL for 10 plus years now. Been to Uxbridge, and I got to see the office over there, and so been around it a long time. If you haven't already, check out webinars.XenTegra.com. We're running this weekly. I do it every week at 2:00. I may run a poll towards the end of the quarter to see if you guys like this slot, and if you do, we'll keep this slot. And I got some great guests. I got a guest coming up. You guys might know him, named Mark Templeton, coming up. I got a lot of great folks that join me every week. We do demos, we talk industry, etc. Events.XenTegra.com. One of the things you'll find there in a couple of weeks, I run my monthly IGEL focus workshop where I teach you, all the ins and outs of IGEL, and I get a little more technical than we will today. And definitely jump on that. And I take you through the UMS, converting devices, etc. So check out that. And then finally, podcast.XenTegra.com. Our founder and CEO, Andy, loves to do podcasts as well as listen to them. So I'm more this medium. I like to do this kind of stuff. He likes to do that medium. So podcast.XenTegra.com. There is an IGEL focused podcast that Chris Feeney, who's behind the scenes, gets on the phone every week, and they talk different topics surrounding IGEL and thin computing. And then, yes, we do give Uber Eats out to every attendee. So, please be patient with Megan. We always look through all the attendees. And as we say, if you don't give us a business email, we'll ask you for a business email. It is what it is. So, and last month we were giving away some pretty cool giveaways. We had our Apple and or Samsung pick your one, some cool swag. And I just want to say congrats to the winners. So James Shield, you're going to get yourself a new device. John Decker, if you're on today, you'll get a jacket. And Francis Wong, you'll get a cool XenTegra hat. And you guys get to pick your color, size, etc. So I'll hook you up with Megan, and we'll go through that process. February, I'm feeling a little generous, and I'm on a mission to find a Sony PlayStation 5. So the top prize is a Sony PlayStation 5. And then I got 2 t-shirt packs. So you see this cool I have a lot of cool t-shirts sitting here in my stash. And then finally, a XenTegra hat. And then finally, I'm going to talk about this. Yes, we are giving away a Ford Bronco. And so if you head over to bronco.xentegra.com, IGEL is going to be a big part of this over the next year. And I'll explain how a little bit later. All right, so let's have some fun, Jed, and we're gonna do some polling. I love polls because it helps us get some data and get some good conversation potentially. So the first poll, just to get the audience warmed up, a little attendee information. So is this your first event/webinar? Let us know if it's your first time here. If not, welcome back to those who come week over week. I sincerely appreciate it. I also sincerely appreciate all the feedback I get as well. And then what is your role? And just pick the one that fits you best. And again, these polls are anonymous. We can't see any data and I can't see names, etc. So don't worry. No names or any name tied to the poll is exposed. So I just always put that out there. So if you're worried about how the data is captured. All right, a couple more seconds, going once, going twice, and then last call for clicks. I like to get at least 70% of the audience warmed up. Make sure you guys are paying attention. And we're going to call it end. All right. So we got a lot of new folks on the phone. So welcome. I appreciate you guys joining us. We do these week over week at 2:00. And again, my next week's guest is Bitdefender. The week after that, I'll be talking to Light Networks. We got a lot of great partners that join us, and I try to give them a platform to highlight some cool technology or two cool topics. And we try to cover the gamut. I can get technical. Yeah. Today we're going to focus more on strategy and the why. And I got a great guest and an industry friend. So, all right, let's talk about EUC. So what does your EUC environment look like? And I'm going to launch these polls and I'll talk through them. So the first one is, hey, what's your primary end user compute environment? Are you a CITRIX shop? Are you a Horizon shop? Are you doing WVD, Amazon Workspaces? Pick your poison, pick the one you primarily use. I know you could use others, but let's pick the primary. Hypervisor, what hypervisor are you using? And yes, I forget who called it. I think it was James Shields said, hey, you didn't have Nutanix on there. I have Nutanix on here. So if you're using Nutanix, pick that one. Are you using CITRIX Cloud? And pick the one that best fits your model. If you still have on-prem and you're still kind of wishy-washy, then you want to pick the second option. If you own it and you're not even touching it yet, pick the third option. Be honest here because we can help you. And then finally, what's your WVD, stance? Are you using it? Are you piloting it? Hey, what's WVD? No, it won't meet my needs or not on the radar. And I guarantee if you spend 30 minutes with me, I could change your mind. So, all right, a couple more seconds. Going once, going twice, and last call for clicks. And done. All right, so we got a lot of CITRIX folks in the room, so that's good. We got a few Amazon Workspaces, Jed. That's pretty interesting. I like that. Then we got, as always, we always get a lot of VMware, ESXi, vSphere, vCenter platform. A lot of Nutanix folks in the room. I see this number grow week over week. It's pretty cool to watch that stat. As far as cloud, CITRIX Cloud, it's still wishy-washy. Well, to use a fun term, that'll be my term of the day today. And then finally, WVD. We got a few folks actually trying it and using it. So pretty cool to see that those numbers keep growing. And I ask these questions a lot week over week. So it's kind of fun to see how these turn out week over week. All right, let's have some fun with industry focused stuff. So more up our alley, Jed. So we got, hey, are you using Azure AD? And if so, what kind of model are you using? Are you looking at or evaluating an infrastructure as a service? So compute, don't, just focus on the compute aspect. So Azure, Amazon Web Services, Google Platform, all there can be, hey, I'm a Rackspace customer. I'm using Equinix, etc. Because cloud can mean many things. What is your M365 or O365 strategy? Are you on-prem / hybrid? Are you full on Exchange Online all the way? Are you a Google Chrome Enterprise shop? And then finally, what's your remote work strategy look like for the foreseeable future? And this is a cool conversation. We'll talk a little bit about this in a little bit. And then finally, my enterprise currently uses thin devices in production today. And again, I put a few out here, but I can't list them all, unfortunately. So I list the ones that I know are out there today. And hopefully we'll start seeing yes Pi devices, and we'll put parentheses IGEL. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. But we got a lot of IGEL folks in the room, so that's good. All right, last call for clicks, going once, twice, and final call. I just make sure there's no lag here. All right, so share the results here. So we got a lot of hybrid identity, and that's good, especially if you're considering some of the cloud technology, especially WVD. A lot of Azure folks in the room, but a strong presence of AWS this week. A good showing of hybrid, but Exchange Online and hybrid kind of go, they almost even every week. And one of the things I always say is a quick shout out. If you're not familiar with what is Microsoft and Fast Track, let's talk. We got a great partner that helps with that. Remote work, that's kind of our new norm. Now let's just hope our kids go back to school at some point, because I think all of us are going to, lose it if they don't. But, remote work, we've learned that, hey, we don't have to travel as much. We can get our jobs done. So that it's a pretty interesting statistic now. And then a lot of great IGEL customers from the room. Thank you. But for those who aren't IGEL customers, stay tuned. We're going to try to convince you to consider. So, all right, I got some other fun polls I may throw in. Jed just gave me a cool question to ask, so I may throw it in the middle, and we'll have fun with that. So Jed, let's jump in. But before we do, you're big into social. I'm big into social. Everybody, you should follow IGEL. You should follow XenTegra, myself. Follow a lot of the leaders at IGEL. Jed, there's a lot of great people that we could allude to that are great in the social media platform. So please give us a follow, and definitely follow the content. I'll also do a little shout out. Carl, you're on the phone. Give him a follow. Simon Townsend, great guy to follow. So good people, industry leaders. All right, so let's talk about our first topic, Jed. And what I'm going to do is, I'm going to take the audience through a couple of key things you guys have announced in the beginning of the year. And then we're going to pause and have a conversation. So I'll stop the slide share so people can see our heads. But the first thing I want to talk about is this thing called the UD Pocket. And I don't know if you remember the first time this thing came out. And I got an original one here. I'm waiting for my new UD Pocket 2. But I remember when this thing came out. Do you remember the first thing I said to you was?
What did you tell me? I don't remember.
Where's Type C?
Oh yeah, that's probably because you're a Mac user, right?
No, I just had an XPS and it was Type C. But one of the big announcements you guys made this year was you guys announced the UD Pocket 2, which includes a Type C port and a regular Type A port. And what's cool about this is now you can cater to Mac users, and a lot of the even Windows devices are becoming Type C based only. So the first question I have, Jed, is, what's the main driver that you see in the industry for the UD Pocket? So what got IGEL to really think about this, and what's driving the UD Pocket more and more today?
Right. So I think when you really boil it down, it's all about how are you going to get IGEL software onto devices, right? And we want to, well, I'm sure we'll talk about that today, right? We're trying to enable as many ways to consume IGEL efficiently onto devices, right? And so I have a fun story for you. When I remember when we first came out with this, which is it was 2017, end of 2016, I think is when we started talking about it. And I had a call with a Gartner analyst, a very top Gartner analyst, and I told him how excited I was about it, and he laughed me out of the meeting. He said, "You'll never sell this. It'll never amount to anything," right? Well, 90 days later, we had a customer who bought 10,000 of them, in one shot. And, we've gone on to sell tens of thousands of them, especially through COVID, right? So the use cases are usually around, fast deployment. BYOD is a big one. Contractors is a big one. During COVID, we had a situation where a very large healthcare organization suddenly had to send 3,000 contractors that did all their invoicing home. They immediately got hit with ransomware on these beautiful new Lenovo laptops that were running, Windows 10 and connecting to Citrix. Well, in short order, IGEL became the operating system of choice to connect through Citrix. And of course, these were contractors that were India and in the US, and they're using the UD Pocket on those Lenovo laptops. And then of course the other thing that I think, given that we're part of the gospel of IGEL, it's also like a great demo device, right? So when you're doing a proof of value or a demonstration of IGEL, we have a lot of technical people that put one on a keychain and walk into a meeting and can show people on their own hardware how IGEL can connect to CITRIX, and that's usually a pretty revealing moment in terms of how this software can change people's worlds. But yeah, I would say it's all about deployment. It's just another way to deploy the software is how we see it. And obviously adding the USB-C. I hope people understood too on that stick. You can actually do both, right? It's you just reverse it and you actually get both form factors with that new stick.
Yeah, that's what excites me about it is that you can do either or. So it becomes more versatile, and I'm guessing from a manufacturing point of view, it's a lot easier too, because you don't have to have two different types. It's just one SKU. It makes it easy, and it also looks pretty cool too. So now one of the things I'll say is a handful of attendees I'll be picking randomly folks to get one of these once I get a stash. So keep your eyes peeled for email and once I get a stash, I'll be handing out. So that's one of the benefits of attending and paying attention throughout this session today.
Yeah, I mean, we love to give these out. Be just radically generous with these, Pete. So yeah, anybody who wants one, let us know.
All right, so let's talk about hardware. So I jokingly say when I talk about the hardware side of the house, IGEL is not a hardware company, but you have pretty cool hardware devices. And just for the audience, yeah, you guys have a great series of, the UD2, the UD3, the UD6, and the UD7. And one of the things I love about IGEL, and I think it's just the German mentality, is the 5-year, warranty with registration. You guys stand behind your devices. But that said, Jed, I think you'd agree, you guys are the first ones in line to say, we're not about selling hardware, and you have a lot of great partnerships here. And one of the recent partnerships you announced was Lenovo. And I guess the question I would have is, what drove IGEL to do the partnership with Lenovo, and not really focus on the hardware piece. So you would be the first one to say that IGEL is a software company, right? So what?
Yes.
So I always jokingly say, is IGEL a hardware company? No. So what drove you guys to do that? And then what do you like about working with Lenovo, and what excites you about working with Lenovo and some of the other partners on the screen here?
Yeah, so I've been with IGEL for almost 5 years now, and the moment I fell in love with this company was when I really unpacked what was sitting on that those devices, right? Which is a really special piece of technology, and part of the gift I was given was bringing this message into English, bringing it into the U.S. with full-throated investment, and we really led with software, right? And I would say it's almost immediately we were predominantly selling software licensing seats, and that's what most of the large enterprise customers that are enjoying IGEL today, they're consuming it entirely as a license. And then what I would say is, as that process is matured, we find ourselves in situations where IGEL is being burned on in the factory at Dell, at HP, at Lenovo, and so forth, right? And so large customers in retail and healthcare that have big contracts are basically realizing the benefit of IGEL, and they're partnering with their hardware manufacturer of choice to put IGEL on those devices. And so IGEL Ready, that slide you had up, is really just a manifestation of that. And I think 2021 will be the year that IGEL has chewed into so much market share of these large players, and they have so many customers that are requesting this, that that sort of meets together with IGEL Ready, and you're essentially going to see 2021 be the year where more and more OEM relationships surface, right? And Lenovo being a very important one, since they're the largest PC manufacturer in the world, right? And previously they've had relationships with VXL and others. They've really realized the leadership position that we have, and what this is about is really certifying and standing behind and making it easy to consume their products with IGEL on it, right? So we're not going through this dance every time with a customer. It's actually Go into the global Lenovo, catalog, and you're going to see 6 devices today that are, certified to ship with IGEL on them. And I think you're going to see more of this, right, from the other manufacturers. And what does this mean for you as a customer? It means that it's going to be just a lot easier to pick your favorite product and get IGEL on it, and know that IGEL and Lenovo or whatever OEM have tested it, and we stand 100% behind supporting it. So
Yeah.
it's, by the way, it's changing by the minute, and I would just encourage people to go out to the IGEL website and look at the showcase pages, and they get a real good. I mean, literally on a daily basis, this thing is expanding radically.
And
this is IGEL's enjoyed a triple-digit growth. I look at this and I go, this is my Cinderella moment in my career. Pretty much every metric you can look at from the company over the last 5 years has grown in 3 digits, right? And so this is the fuel for the next phase of growth, right? Is all these wonderful relationships with these hardware manufacturers.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, Jed. I got 4 favorites now, and we'll talk about the 4th one in a minute. But these are my 3 personal favorites. Each one has their niche, if you will. LG is another great partner of yours. They have that great all-in-one. They got the 28-inch. They got the curved monitor, 32-inch option, and then ClearCube is another friendly partner that I jumped up and down and said, hey, you guys got to work with these guys. And they just have a lot of great devices, to be honest with you. And what I like is they're right in Texas, and they're made in America, which is kind of nice too. So
that's cool.
But they're big.
Also just on Lenovo, the laptops are a very big piece of it, right? This idea of all these people that want to. I mean, I'm sure almost all of it are calling in from home, right? And you want a device that you can move from room to room that has a great screen. And that's certainly what we're seeing with more and more customers. They don't want to, strap their users to a specific spot in their house, right? So this is an area where IGEL certainly, even though we have a great lineup of devices, we never, were pushing out a laptop. It just wasn't something we were prepared to do. So that's an area that, when you can get a $200 to $300 device that, with IGEL on it. That's high performance and mobile. This is a great use case.
Yeah, and then that's again where this little device comes into play, is you can create a controlled environment for the user on the laptop, which is kind of nice.
Exactly.
All right, let's talk about my next favorite topic, and I don't know about you, but you knew for a long time because you run the company, but I didn't. I kind of knew it was coming, and I was hoping it was coming, but when you guys announced this, I literally jumped up and down in my office, no lie, and I was excited, and that's what I'm gonna call the UD Pie. And if you guys name it that, I should get credit for that.
You are a marketing guy.
But anyway, but you guys officially announced your partnership with End Computing and launching your first support for Raspberry Pi devices. And the question's simple here is, and we got Young on from End Computing, what excites you about this update, and what made you kind of partner with End Computing?
Well, I guess, just to be clear with you, I've been fascinated with this ARM architecture for a long time, right? When you think about having this light, secure, highly manageable operating system that IGEL has, right? We certainly realize that ARM is the future, and as we move towards IoT, you're going to have to work on ARM. Now, that being said, being a company with 400 people, you got to focus, right? And so there's a lot of x86 infrastructure out there that's sitting inside of organizations that can't run Windows 10 effectively, but it can run CITRIX or VMware and connect to that. So that has been IGEL's focus, right? And we've been focused on the enterprise. We always wanted to make sure that whatever we sell is stout and sturdy and is enterprise ready. And so I think when we started to look at the early versions of the ARM Raspberry Pi, that's where we got into sort of like, it was challenging for us. As much as you were pushing me and others were pushing me, we looked at it and said, this is a science project. You need 32 dongles and a PhD in computer science to make this work with CITRIX, right? And so we kind of held back, not to say we didn't put people on it in Germany and started looking at it, But it wasn't until the Raspberry Pi 4 showed up, right? And you were like, all right, this can run 2 monitors, and you don't need all these dongles, and it has enough compute power to run collaboration applications, that we said, okay, we're going to go all in on this. And that's obviously when we also raised our hand and went down the street to Silicon Valley and found Young, right? And as the leader in producing this, and had more experience than anyone else in building an enterprise class device. It was a fast partnership, and we've been really enjoying working with them. You're going to see a GA of this product at Disrupt at the end of this month. We have a lot of smart people in the end user compute community, yourself included, testing it and giving us feedback. So we've gotten a lot of like brutal, good feedback. We're still learning, right? But our vision of this is that, hey, it's just kind of like the contractors and the BYOD, and the sort of, how do you take cost and complexity out of delivering this technology? Well, this is a great way to do that, right? When you think about sort of the UDPi, as a way to connect to efficiently to these cloud architectures, we think this is the future, right? When you can go sub $100 for a device, this becomes very interesting. So
cool. And Young, what excites you about working with IGEL, and what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, well, since the 18 years ago when I started in computing, we focus on the single architecture. Everything will be changed to the ARM. So we even designed our own ARM processor one time 10 years ago for big announcements with the CITRIX. But we see that our core competence is integration and quality production. So we switched the architecture to the Pi Foundation. And the Pi Foundation will greatly helpful to the last 4 years. We're working very closely, Pi 3, Pi 3 Plus, and dongle, and so on. But when it comes to the Pi 4, there is a lot of a technical hurdle, like heat, thermal protection, and the logistics and integration software, everything protection. But then IGEL came in, and it's perfect time. So we know how to produce the enterprise grade, the Pi. People think, oh yeah, I can do it buy from the Amazon and DIY, and here they think, okay, how many 1,000 units in high quality you can build by you or by third party that have never been there before, or how you're going to deliver, how you're going to go through the FCC certification on the Wi-Fi, everything to all the country, and your customer might have the factory in Asia or Latin America or something. So we're taking care of all those complicated things, make your life easier. And you guys focus on software and device management, the awesome IGEL OS, and we do the hardware and warranty service, and it is perfect marriage. And then we were working closely over 8 months or almost 1 year from the idea to get to these high quality products. So yeah, you can really counting on this. It's a German, the perfectism of software is there, and 100% made in Korea, and everything is dropship and going through Ingram Micro or all your partners in everywhere. We were ready for supporting the behind the scene.
Yeah, I'm excited, and so for those who haven't seen it, this is the device, and the cool thing is one lucky person today is going to win one of these today. So I'll be contacting that person post session, and I'll be making someone happy today. Not the Davids. The Davids know who I'm talking about, and one lucky person. And we're going to be doing another program. And Jed, I don't know if you heard me talk about this yet, but for those who are interested in POCing IGEL, we'll qualify you. We'll get you one of these devices as well. And that will also enter you into our Ford Bronco drawing. So that's something that as a partner, we want to invest in and try to move this forward, because I truly believe in this little device. I know, yes, I've been recorded on one of these webinars saying, the Pi killer. Well, that's out the window now. We got the IGEL and End Computing Pi. So now I'm a Pi lover. So
There's a great video out there too with that's on our blog, Pete, of Jeff Kahlberg and Frederick doing a Teams call over Citrix with that product. So yeah, showcasing that it actually really is a successful collaboration. I mean, you can run Teams across it, right? Which even in with full x86, sometimes people struggle with this. So
Yeah,
I saw
and
there's 33 people on this call that have Citrix as their deployment architecture. So hopefully they're the first in line to try. It should be the first in line to check this out.
yeah, definitely. All right, so let's have a fun pause moment here because Jed, you threw a question my way, and I'm gonna throw this poll out there for the audience because why not? Let's have a little fun. But you and we talk about Windows on the endpoint and why, right? So I'm gonna launch this poll. So who thinks in the audience it's a good idea to run Microsoft Windows to connect to Windows in the cloud? And as we kind of answer this, really think about that, right? If you're using an endpoint to connect to Citrix only, VMware only, WVD only, or kind of a hybrid approach, or Amazon Workspaces, ask yourself why, and really think about that. And Jed, you're a true believer in this, and I'll let you kind of get on your soapbox for a second and highlight your view on this. So
Yeah, I mean, I've got religion on this because I've watched companies save millions of dollars, right, over the last few years, and it's really fun to see them get religion on it. And yeah, I mean, we watched it. The IDC, which is really the people that are tracking at least the thin clients, since 2018, they've been able to definitively say that the majority of people that are deploying these technologies are using Linux today. So if you are the first answer in the poll here, you're definitely in the minority based on the IDC data. But I guess what I would say is obviously when you start using Linux, right, you basically are drastically reducing the attack surface. You're using a read-only file system, right, that is much harder to get at from a security perspective. You don't need all the agents that sit on top of it, which cost you money, right, for antivirus, disk encryption, and management, because all that's integrated, obviously, in the IGEL solution. Yeah, and I think we see people enjoy great benefits also from a management perspective, right? We literally have people managing almost 100,000 devices now with a few people, and they never leave leave the home office. So this and obviously there's a radically simpler way to like deploy the technology too. We deploy this into retail stores with people that are hourly, people that know nothing about technology, right? They just plug in the cords and through the management console, they're connecting all this stuff up and it phones home, right? So I guess I'm a believer. I think that the world is actually shifting, and
yep.
there's a sort of once in 35 year architectural shift happening, especially influenced by COVID, where you're going to see this sort of light, secure, highly manageable OS as the way to connect to these solutions. And the race of ever fatter devices and ever fatter, more complex, harder to secure and manage operating systems these days are numbered.
Yeah, and I agree, and I'll give you a cool story. So I help a customer down in Florida that I can't say their name, but I help them out, and literally the customer will line them up in his lab for me, and I'll go and get them all plugged into the UMS, and their UMS is running up in Azure, and I'll get them all configured, and then he mails them to the site. They plug them in, plug in the monitors, and they press power on, and they're ready to go. Yeah. So just that simplicity right there is easy. And I do a lot with you guys in the background to test and help out, and just because I love the technology, but
yeah,
I do agree.
I wanted to just actually throw a shot out to you, Pete, because I went back and looked at the first QBR that I ever sat through a couple weeks ago, and there was a report out from one of our VPs, Greg, who's now a VP. At the time he was a sales rep, Greg Kingston, and he had all these pictures of you and your labs that you used to set up for the conversion workshops.
Yeah.
And it's great to see that you're still doing those. And I guess that's something that for anyone who hasn't touched IGEL, I would highly encourage you to get with Pete and go through this process where you bring in whatever devices you have and watch how quickly he can get them converted to IGEL and connected to your Citrix VMware environment, and what the implications of that are.
Yeah, no, and I enjoy doing them. It's fun. So I just a quick shout out to Chris Feeney in the background. So keep your questions coming. He's answering them behind the scenes. And there's a lot of cool little questions. But here's a fun question, Jed. I'm gonna throw this out there because I know Doug Brown has an opinion, and I do too. But someone's asked, so can we think of these as thin clients? And how about you? I hate that term. I call them thin devices because it's no longer a client; it's a device. And I forget what Doug says, but he's not a fan of that term. So, what's your thoughts there?
Yeah, it's a tricky thing because I'm also a marketing guy, kind of like you are, right? And when you think about how
Yep.
people find IGEL today, they type in thin client, right? And that's how we're known. But when you think about how we want to be known, we want to be known as an edge operating system, right? For this cloud
Yep.
workspace, pivot that we're all experiencing. And so I think that's how we like to be known as, an edge operating system for cloud workspaces. And, it's a little bit challenging because we're this little German company that a lot of people have never heard of that's creating a category, right? Edge operating system for cloud workspaces. Well, what is that? But what I will tell you is when we do this story and we tell it correctly, we literally get people that pull their phone out and they take a picture of that statement. Edge operating system for cloud workspaces. Okay, that's the definition I've been searching for. It's not a thin client, right? A thin client is a piece of hardware. It's a vessel to deliver this software defined experience. It's just enough operating system. And when it's tuned correctly, it's typically invisible, right? It's branded with the retailer or the hospital or the school or whatever it is. And it sits underneath that deployment architecture and it's literally invisible. So yeah, I know you know all the tricks on how to do that, but that's kind of how we see it.
Yeah, yeah, and I agree. I think it's all about the OS and getting it as simple as possible for the user. I have a belief that without our users, we all have jobs, and two, if our users aren't happy, guess what? Our projects fail. So I really stand by the goal. One of the goals of XenTegra is we enable IT to make end users happy, or make end users successful, because at the end of the day, the end user is the one who's going to interface with this. And if it's easy and it's simple, that's the power of IGEL right there. So
exactly. Yeah, I mean, we have this vision of like empowering and helping transform the way the world works, right? And it really has like profound implications for the people that sit behind these devices, right? Because it just simplifies their life, the organizations, right? And the planet, right? Because I mean, you think about what the outcomes of just green, the 50 million tons of e-waste that go into the landfills every year.
Yeah.
One of the things that makes me the proudest of IGEL is walking into companies where they literally have pallets of devices that are headed to be recycled and to the landfill, and you sort of cut that off at the pass, right? This fact that most of the deployments of IGEL are under a gig in size, right? So once you kind of hyper tune this OS, get it down to just what you need. And this is the big difference between IGEL and Windows, right?
Mm-hmm.
About as thin as you can get Windows today is 16 gig. It's just a huge difference in terms of how the size of that operating system.
Yeah, I agree. And we could probably spend another half hour just talking about this topic, but I know I only got so much of your time, and I want to talk about two more things before we exit out today. We got this awesome event coming up, and I can say that I've been to all three so far. So I haven't missed one yet, so I'm excited. But let's talk about IGEL. It's Unite, but which used to be called IGEL Disrupt. And I did put a link in. I highly recommend you click on that link and register today. Jed, let's talk about it. So, what excites you about this event? But, we got all these great events going on that are virtual now. What are you guys doing to make it more unique in this
I mean,
non-virtual
we all have
world?
Zoom fatigue, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we just did a Zoom 3-day event last week for our kickoff. I think we're all tired of being on Zoom, right? It's a challenge. This is the Groundhog Day, I guess was yesterday, but it felt like it was all last year. So yeah, Disrupt is an event where IGEL had this audacious idea that, hey, there's a little bit of a void in the world of end user compute to create a community that's truly having a conversation about the sort of future of the state of this industry, right? So it's not an IGEL commercial. It's actually one of the few events that actually brings together CITRIX, VMware, Microsoft, Amazon, and it's not an IGEL commercial, right? It's a conversation about where's the world going. And so we started this last three years ago, and it was kind of a smashing success, more than I think anyone in Germany or even the US thought it could be. And so at the end of February, will be our I think it's our fourth time of doing this, obviously virtual. And when you register, the great thing about this, if you follow that registration, is that we also are going to have, you'll register for that event, but you'll also be registered for our Enlighten events, which are with customers. So a lot of the things we've been talking about, you want to see it come to life, come have a customer talk about how they're saving tens of millions of dollars, right? That will open your eyes. And then we also have an Empower event, which is really about partners. So you've heard a bunch today about all these great partnerships that IGEL has. We have over 100 integrated partners into our ecosystem today that are built into the software, or we're certifying on the hardware. So we'll have a lot of conversations about those special partnerships through the IGEL Ready program. So that one registration link is going to sort of open up a whole world for you into the IGEL family, and you won't have to register again. You just do it once, so we won't have to chase you down, and you'll be part of the IGEL family for this Disrupt event.
Yeah, and I registered already, and I can't wait. I know it's virtual, but it's my fourth one. I remember the first one on the AMD campus in Texas.
That's right.
That was a good year. And then year two was San Jose, and it got too big that you couldn't have it on the campus. I think it was NVIDIA, right?
Exactly.
And then year three last year was my last physical. Well, yeah, it was my last physical event in Tennessee. So yeah. That was a fun time.
Yeah, well, we're going to do it on this vFairs platform, which is like the sort of virtual conference platform. We'll have some storytellers there. We'll have a magician there. We'll have a bunch of customers there that will be telling their story. But I guess I also just throw it out. It's not too late. If there's somebody on this call that would love to be a speaker there or has a story to tell, I think you and I are actually on a panel together, Pete. So we are. You're already good, I think. But yeah, and obviously, come check it out. We're going to be going into detail on the ARM thing with going GA with the Pi that we just talked about. There may be an announcement with a company that the CEO just retired yesterday and made the guy who was in charge of cloud the CEO of, you may know who I'm talking about, the richest guy in the world. We may be making an announcement with them there that could be of interest to people.
Cool.
So yeah, check it out.
And I gotta say, what's this? The punk rocker hedgehog?
Exactly. We got to keep it interesting, right?
Yeah.
we try to be a little bit edgy. We do things that maybe the corporate guys can't do with Disrupt.
Yeah. No, I that's what I love about you, Jed, and I've learned a lot from you personally too. So, all right, let's kind of end cap with something good, like feel good. Last year, you guys launched this whole movement, I'll call it, around Believe, right? And you had this cool shirt. Unfortunately, mine's still in the laundry today, and
we'll have to get you a couple more.
Yeah, and it's just a cool thing. Let's talk about Believe. Like, what was your driver there, and are you going to keep that going in 2021, or are you guys going to do something different to kind of motivate?
This is hard coded into the IGEL sort of core values.
Yep.
And this actually roots back to the Disrupt event when I told you that IGEL was this little teeny unknown company in Germany, and we suddenly went onto the stage to say that we could have a user conference. This was a big moment, right? And it's sort of this Henry Ford quote, if you've ever heard it: either think you can or you think you can't. Either way, you're right. And so when I took over as the CEO in February of last year, I stood on the stage in front of the whole company and said, this is one of the core values of this company that is going to drive us forward. We believe that we have a place on the stage of enterprise software as this architectural shift happens. We are going to become a household name in enterprise computing software. And this is kind of an audacious thing, especially for conservative Germans, right, that had sort of associated themselves with this very regional hardware company. So, and then Believe, what happened after we all went away in February was we got hit with COVID. And I'd given everybody these shirts that said Believe on it. So Believe is also about staying positive and having this sort of spirit of optimism that the human intellect can do anything they want accomplished, right? And so we started giving these shirts out as a way to sort of really press into this idea that, yeah, we're going to come out the other side of this. You have to stay positive. You have to support each other, and you have to be kind to each other. And so, yeah, we gave out thousands of these shirts to people. They put from everywhere around the world. I mean, we had people with Believe shirts on in Italy when the COVID was ravaging Italy. It just became a rallying point. And so, yeah, Believe has just been a tag for me. We run the company on two things: believe and servant heart, right? This idea that everybody here is wired to serve each other, to serve our partners, and to serve our customers. And if we actually do it in that order, it works really well.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. That's what I try to live that philosophy every day, and when you first came out with it, I got right on it and got my shirt, and I wear it all the time. I love it, and I think it's great. Can you I don't know if you're able to, but how much were you able to donate last year to the various organizations?
It was a number well north of 10,000. I think we went to quite a few different organizations, and we continue to donate actually where we're able to. But yeah, we gave away well over $10,000.
Awesome.
And we gave it to some great causes, right? People that have actually been impacted by COVID.
Cool. All right. So we got Jed on the horn with us. So, if you have any questions at all, now's the time to ask, because you know what, once I get them off, it's going to be hard to get them back on. And if you notice, I put a link in for Disrupt. Please register. IGEL Unite. Please register for that and check it out. It's definitely worth the time and the effort. A lot of great speakers, a lot of great sessions, a lot of great content. It's not IGEL heavy; it's industry heavy. And
I mean,
this
CITRIX, I know we have a lot of people that are CITRIX oriented on this call, but CITRIX will have some of their top execs that will be keynoting there. Some of the things we talked about here, obviously, the end computing team will be there en masse. Microsoft will be there. I know you had a lot of people that were interested in what was happening with WVD. Their team will be there. Nerdio, you mentioned them. They're going to be taking a big position. Control Up. It's going to be a great event. And by registering, you're going to get 12 months worth of content. And of course, the cool thing about these platforms is, if you can't make it, you can always go back and watch it later too, right? It's all recording and available on demand.
Yeah, no, that's what's great about it. So, last call for final questions, and as we're kind of waiting, for any final questions, I'll highlight just really quickly XenTegra. XenTegra is a great partner of IGEL. We love our partnership with you, Jed. So, thank you, and we truly believe in the technology, as you know. But the reality here is Andy built the company. You've known Andy a long time. I have too. I've known you a long time. But we built it on two premises: customer enablement and forming true partners. And hopefully you see us as a true partner, and we love working with you guys. But on the flip side, we're also solution focused. So just because I sell you IGEL doesn't mean I'm going to not, work with you on CITRIX or VMware or AWS Workspaces or, whatever. It's about the solution. It's not just about the product. And that's what makes XenTegra a lot different than some of the other, resellers out there. Is we're not about just pushing product. We're going to get alongside you and give you our experience, and really push a solution, not necessarily a product. But I truly believe this in that we enable IT so your end users can be successful. Because I really think that, as an ex-product manager, one of the core focuses I had to have was being design driven. And part of that is, looking at your users and how they use the product. So our end user in IT is our end users. And if they're not happy, guess what? We don't want them walking down the hallway saying IGEL stinks, right? We want them saying, we love IGEL. What are these cool devices? Or we love CITRIX, or AWS or WVD. And if they're not saying that, then the project is, not successful in my book. So here's a lot of our great partners. Jed, you're partner with a lot of these companies as well. We heavily focus in cloud computing, end user computing, networking, security. I mean, security is becoming the big thing now. And that's one thing, we didn't really touch upon, but maybe a good session for me and Jeff Kahlberg to do sometime is talk about security in IGEL. That's another great thing about the IGEL OS is the security aspects of it, and the fact that it's a read-only operating system. All right, so I keep talking about this Bronco. So bronco.XenTegra.com. A couple different ways you can get onto this this awesome drawing, and you can get onto it more than once. So the first way is I'm going to keep it simple. Anybody who sets up a follow-on meeting and actually does a POC of IGEL, they'll not only get a Raspberry Pi device, but they'll get put into the drawing for the Ford Bronco as well. So definitely when my BDR team follows up with you guys, humor them and set up a meeting. And the cool thing is you'll actually get to talk to me at some point, because I like to get my hands dirty and help with these proof of concepts. So that's one way. The other way is we have our own managed service offering, and we layer IGEL into that as well. So we have our CITRIX managed service offering. And then we also work with IGEL to get endpoints into your hands as well. And if you set up a meeting with our team to discuss this, that will get you into the drawing. And then finally, we do these micro assessments, and a lot of you answered, hey, I got VMware, I got CITRIX, I got W. We have these assessments that will come in and we'll do, and they're about a 4-hour committee or time, but guess what? They're free. And we give you good anecdotes to consider on improving your environment. And one of the things I like to say jokingly is it's a great way to get to know XenTegra. I call it the XenTegra interview. So Randy and Harvey, who do those, they do a great job. And they give you great, facts of different partners, different things you need to consider to enhance your end user compute investment. So yes, we'll be following up. And please, take me up on my offer. If you want to POC this, I'm going to get you a Raspberry Pi, and we're definitely going to get everybody who partakes in anything we do, IGEL, a UD Pocket 2 as well. And one final shout out to you, Jed. Well, we're here, and I got a couple questions that Chris is going to answer. But you got this cool series called The Attic, and you actually had a cool guest on for your first one, Mark Templeton. So I definitely recommend everybody goes out and takes a look at this awesome series. Can you give us a little sneak peek on what's coming up on your next one?
Yeah, I think you and I must be on the same circuit, because you had Brian Madden. I'm going to have Brian Madden. We have Tim Minahan, who's the CMO at CITRIX, planned. We're going to talk to David Smith at Teradici. They're doing some really interesting things. So it's not just about technology. Really, what we're trying to do with this, and Mark was a home run in the first version of it, is really talk about leadership. And the reason why it's called The Attic is it's about an origin story, right? Every tech company's got to have this, fun stories of dorm rooms and garages. Well, IGEL was started in an attic in northern Germany. Both our development team and our founder started in attics, and then I found myself in an attic in San Francisco when I brought IGEL here. So there's a very fun kind of, sort of humble and bootstrapped kind of culture inside of IGEL. And so these conversations are much bigger than just where's tech going, where's end user compute going. They're about human beings, their origin stories, and leadership principles. So I'm sure we have some leaders on this call with over 100 people. I'm sure you're managing people. We'd love to have you tune in. And we're having some exceptional leaders, that we'll be interviewing. If you have any ideas of people we should interview for this, I'm all ears for that too. So as we set up the calendar for the year, we're trying to do 1 to 2 a month.
Awesome.
So
I love it.
Thanks for plugging this. You are a great marketer.
Hey, I watched it and I enjoyed it. Bill, who's on our team, did a shout out as well. He said he enjoyed it as well. And I love how you gave us the back end of how you got this all set up. It was really cool to watch. So, all right. So final call for questions, but Jed, first off, I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy day to join me today. It's always a pleasure. I'm sorry we can't shake hands and be at Disrupt this year, this year, but this is the next best thing. And Young, thanks for joining us as well. Jed, any final thoughts for the audience to consider before they exit out today?
Well, just want to say thanks for having me, and obviously we love to interact with you through Pete and show you the technology. I think you'll be impressed. It's a powerful, game-changing story, and obviously thanks to Young for the partnership at End Computing, and we'd love to get one of those UD Pies in your hand.
Yeah.
As well. So yeah, just stay in touch with IGEL. There's big things on the horizon for us, And I put my LinkedIn. Love to connect with you and keep the conversation going on over social.
Cool. And hey, Young, any final thoughts on your side and for the audience that you want to leave them with?
Yeah, well, it's exciting, but seeing is believing. So try the PLC, and then you will be amazed how this is robust and super fast. What people think still the Intel architecture is the great, but amazing. The ARM process is amazing nowadays.
Great.
Cool. Well, Jed and Young, thanks for joining us today. And I want to thank the audience for taking time out of their day to join us and learn a little bit more about the insides of IGEL, because usually I do more demo and overview. But Jed, I appreciate you taking time. And Young, I appreciate you taking time. And we will be following up. So please humor us. And with that, I'm going to say thank you for joining us. And as I always say, see you guys on the flip side and hope to see you next week.
Thank you.
Thanks again, Pete.